So the Republican debate in South Carolina just happened. I got back from covering it live with TYT, and I'm still a little bit angry. And so I've got my dog, who's going to try to make me feel a little bit better about it. And I wanted to express a little bit more in depth some of the thoughts that I had. And especially if you didn't catch the live commentary, then you won't have heard this before. But there's several things I wanted to talk about. And one was one of the best lines of the debate, which I don't even really disagree was one of the best lines, but it had to do with Donald Trump, who was attacked by Cruz for having New York values, and Trump responded with this long thing about how affected he was by 9/11 and how Americans were great and New Yorkers were great on 9/11 and everybody loved New Yorkers on 9/11. All of that is on some level true, but we need to stop talking about it. I don't mean 9/11, but I mean that you can get out of any criticism by simply saying, well, I was affected by 9/11, or I was there on 9/11. Trump lying to pretend that he had been helping with the digging of the rubble afterward and stuff like that. That didn't actually happen. And Cruz was doing what many Republicans have done in the past and attacked the coasts or liberal areas or big cities as saying that they're not real America. And what it seemed like Trump was doing was countering that and saying, well, no, you say those people aren't really American and they're not good people, but they are actually good people. And I know that because I went through a horrible experience with them. But that is true of every area. That is true of every big city. Every city has had to deal with tragedy, with disaster. Like, you don't think San Francisco has had issues in the past? And yet, many Republicans, it wouldn't be that hard to find quotes from Donald Trump as well, have been and will continue to attack these areas. They gladly attack Chicago because there happen to be a lot of minorities there, and it's generally ruled over in terms of the mayor by Democrats. But because 9/11 didn't happen there, you're free to attack Chicago and San Francisco and Hartford and Providence and whatever cities you want, so long as it's not New York. You can mock Washington and say how it's a den of fucked up people. Well, 9/11 also affected DC on that day, but for some reason you're still free to attack them. That whole thing just bothers me so much. Stop trying to hide behind that stuff. And the fact that they had hated New York so much before 9/11, and then for a week after 9/11, they all of a sudden love it. No, be human all the time, okay? It shouldn't take a terrorist attack for you to very briefly see your shared humanity with another person. So he's going to get a lot of points off of that, I don't doubt that, but that doesn't mean that he was right on the substance necessarily. Now, let's talk more about substance, because I want to acknowledge that myself, and perhaps some others, we have a little bit of hypocrisy when it comes to the debates. And that is that when they go completely substance-free and they just attack each other, or they just give platitudes about how I'm going to track down ISIS and I'm going to kill ISIS and I'm going to take their oil, and they're not really saying anything. They're not giving us any information with which to determine who we want to support. And then we say, you're lacking substance. And then they switch over to their long-winded discussion about the VAT tax or how many visas they're going to give out. And to be fair, and perhaps it's because this is 2 hours into the debate, we get a little bit bored. And I think most people are actually like that. And there is some hypocrisy there. You want them to go in depth and you want them to be specific about what they would do if they were to become president. But when they do, it's not as exciting. And the reason it's not as exciting is because we don't support those candidates. If it's Bernie Sanders, I'll gladly listen to that stuff because I want those policies to be put into effect. But when it's the Republicans, it doesn't have that same sort of cachet. And so I want to own up to that hypocrisy. And but I did watch the entire thing after all, so I guess I pushed past it. The third is the moderators, because as bad as many of these Republican debates have been, and as sad as it is that after minimal pushback and fact-checking by some of them, including Megyn Kelly, the Republicans all threw hissy fits and said, you gotta be nice, stop hitting us, it hurts. And so now you have Maria Bartiromo and Cavuto, who should be paid salary by the campaigns, because of, at most, the most that they did that some of the candidates wouldn't have wanted is Ted Cruz probably didn't want to talk at all about the constitutionality of him running for the presidency. I mean, yes, he'd prepared his defense, but, given, his preferences, he probably wouldn't have liked to talk about it at all. Aside from that, for the most part, all they did was offer up softballs. They tried to minimally pit them against each other, But generally, even those are, you've launched an attack against him. Restate that attack in front of a whole bunch of people. That's as hard as they went as moderators. And this is Fox Business. Now, look, business is inherently somewhat political, but this isn't Fox News. This is supposed to be about business advice and the economy. And especially Maria Bartiromo is so clearly driven by her own ideological bias when it comes to the economy. You can't expect to get any information out of it. And they're supposed to be the moderators. And I would have, in years past, perhaps thought, well, maybe they'll do some fact-checking of the candidates. But they can't even fact-check themselves. This is a woman who in the past said that the unemployment rate is about 40%, she said. Lying by saying that 40% of the country doesn't have employment. When she says that, she is literally including one-year-old babies, retired people, high school students, 7th graders. But these are the people that they choose to moderate a debate about every issue that the Republicans care about, at least. There are a number of issues, including climate change, that they didn't go into. And so that was sad. And they should expect more. I mean, if you're a conservative and you're trying to figure out which of these jackasses you're going to support, you didn't get any help from the moderators there. You didn't have them actually challenged when they go up against either Bernie or Hillary or Martin O'Malley. They're not going to have this easy of a time. And they are receiving no preparation from people like Maria Bartiromo, who are doing the work of Fox News and largely the work of the candidates, including Trump, by the way. It wasn't that they were just supporting and handing softballs to the establishment candidates. Trump was being offered up nonsense. His answers are going to be substance-free, but when the question itself is substance-free, what do you expect? I'm not even mad at Trump at that point. If you say, people say that you're mad, are you mad? Well, yeah, he's not going to provide you with any information because you didn't give him any information with which to generate a response. And so I'm more mad at Maria Bartiromo than actually at Trump. And then finally, overall, I've watched a lot of these debates because they have a lot of debates. And I want to give credit to the RNC, not in how the debates are run and how they willingly capitulated to what the people like Ben Carson and Trump wanted in terms of the length of the debates and the fact-checking and all that. But at least they're having a bunch of debates, and they're having it on weekdays because they actually want people to watch the debates. And thanks to that, you've had people moving up and down in the polls, and sometimes maybe Ben Carson is up, and then Ted Cruz gets up, and Rubio gets up. That's because you actually have them being forced to theoretically describe what they would do as president. So they deserve some credit in that. The DNC could learn a lot. But you can only do so much as the RNC, and this is what they're left with. I mean, prior to the campaign, there are some differences between those candidates. Like, Jeb Bush is not the same person as Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or Donald Trump. And even there, I want to give him credit for not being willing to blanket attack every single Muslim or say that we should stop every immigrant from a Muslim country. Jeb is not a good person necessarily, but he's not Trump and he's not Cruz. He's somewhat human. It's still inside of him. He's a bad guy in a number of different ways, but that stands out to me. And aside from that, Kasich has lost whatever value he had as a non-complete ideologue and extremist. And you've lost Rand Paul, and even Fiorina's gone, as terrible as she is. And now you have Cruz and Rubio and Christie, all of them just trying to pretend that they're going to be the biggest badass. And they have a new plan for ISIS. They're going to track them down and they're going to blow them up. They're going to switch things up a bit. And if you're actually a conservative or you generally vote Republican, man, you don't have a lot of choice there. It's like you either like Trump or you don't. And I hope, to your credit, you don't. But if you don't, I mean, you got Cruz? No, not really. What do you got? You got Rubio? That is some sad shit, man. On the Democratic side, I really like Sanders. I'm excited about Sanders. And if Sanders doesn't actually get the nomination, I will support Hillary Clinton, I'm sure, even though there's a number of issues that I don't agree with her with. Largely, she is similar to me in a lot of issues. And even if it was Martin O'Malley, that wouldn't be the end of the world. But man, on the Republican side, it is dark times. I feel a little bit better now that I've talked this through with you on this channel. This is sort of what it's supposed to be about, a little bit more direct communication with you guys. And I needed it coming out of that debate, man, because you just listen to the BS And it's not just the BS. They put out the BS, and that hurts. It's the cheering. They're so happy to receive nothing from these assholes. And that's depressing. Okay, I'm going to drink because I have desperate need of Blue Moon at this point, and I'm going to pet my dog, and I'm going to watch Die Hard because I want to see Alan Rickman in one of his best movies. And hopefully that will cleanse from my palate mental, psychological, the horrors that I've seen at this debate. Hope you enjoyed, guys. Let me know what you thought about the debate down below.